Hello, it's us, it's you, we're here, together. Why are we here? For another exciting week on You Can't Disappoint a Podcast, Argentina's number 5 television show podcast.
And I don't think we've kept that. I think we've been drastically falling since, but we're going to wear that badge proudly for the rest of our lives. Welcome to the show. You can officially support You Can't Disappoint a Podcast now on Patreon at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. It's the place to go to help us move this show forward, and there's all kinds of exclusive content, fun interaction, events with Steven and myself, and all types of ways to influence our show on a weekly basis. So please consider supporting us on Patreon.
If you want to get in on the action, make sure you email us your trivia, your MVP, and your funniest moments from that week's episode over to our email at can'tdisappointpodcast@gmail.com, and we will read it right here on the show.
We sure will, even if you beg us not to. Also, hang out with us on the socials every week off the podcast. You know, we're on Facebook and YouTube under our podcast title. You can also find us on Instagram at Can't Disappoint Podcast and Twitter, where we probably do the most of our jovial lollygaggery at You Can't Disappoint. So come hang out with us over there.
Yeah, make sure you you smash that like and subscribe button.
Give us that attention that we so desperately crave.
Yeah, throw us your hearts, your wallets, and a couple kisses here and there, and we'll keep on pushing out this baby of ours that we call You Can't Disappoint a Podcast.
Look at me now, Dad!
Yeah, look at me now, Dad!
Look at me now, Dad! Look at me now, Dad!
Steven, how are you on this most hallowed of days, this most hallowed of holy days today?
You know, I'm nervous, I'm excited, I'm a little warm inside and outside.
A little aroused. Slightly aroused.
Yeah, I mean, enough
Mostly
that it's
aroused.
enough to be polite, but not enough to be rude, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but depending on where the evening takes us, it might get a little rude.
Well, if we're lucky.
We're talking this way, of course, because today is Father's Day. And Steven and I practically don't have fathers, so it's never really been a day that I've given a shit about.
True.
Until now.
Yeah.
Because there's a special boy in our life.
There is, and there's someone who's come into our lives, and you know, regardless of how many times they may say specifically that they're not our father, they've really taken us in as sons.
Well, let's get to what today's show is then, because they've said they're not our father, but today is Father's Day, and our episode today is a sit-down fireside chat with our papa, our community daddy, Matt from @Communiess on Twitter. We sing his praises all the time. We're glad to have a sit-down with him and to really spend some quality time with Dad. So, of course, we've got to start off every episode like we always do to shout out @Communiess on Twitter. It's, as you're about to see in this interview we did, it's just one of the best, most wholesome gathering of community fans and fan content, and he brightens our lives all the time in many ways, gets us feeling warm and ready to go. I feel like I have a big hole, you know. I just got this big gaping hole. And Matt from Communiess tonight truly filled my hole. Just
yeah, I've got a lot of itches.
It could be filled.
At a lot of times, and he scratches all of them with whatever I ask him to. It's really great. You know,
yeah, but not too rough. Just the right amount of scratch.
Well, yeah, enough that I kind of like curl my back a little bit, but not enough that like my doctor will see the next day. You know?
Yeah. Not enough that your mom's gonna be asking you questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what today's show is. It's Father's Day, and we're doing a Hangout with Dad. We got to also shout out. Oh, hi, I am Zach.
Hi, I'm Steven.
And this is You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. Oh, man. It's been fun to kind of take a bit of a pause between season 2 and 3 to do some of this fun stuff. Steven just got back from a really cool trip to New Orleans. How was your time in the city?
It was a blast. I got to explore a little bit. Drink a lot of drinks that had rum in them. Got to do some dancing. It was fun.
And you won a dance competition.
I did.
Right?
I won
you won in several categories at a dance competition.
Yeah, it was a blast.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it was really nice. It was also my first time getting to competitively dance with Danny. Shout out.
Friend of the show.
Yeah, which was great, and got to spend a lot of time with her in the city, and that was great too.
Yeah. I speaking of Danny, we should shout out our $10 and up patrons over at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. Danny M. Lugo is one of them, along with Melissa LaPena. Please, again, let us know if that's right or not. Mary Baker Budisa. And who am I forgetting? Brian Thurman. Could never forget. She won our first giveaway. Mm-hmm. We're glad that they all support us. They keep the lights going on over this place. Steven's electricity is always on the verge of being turned off.
It is.
But those patrons pay the bill. So if you like what we do here and you want to help us make it better, take it to the next level, patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. We do the live You Can't Dis a pre-show. I think we're going to be talking about recapping the iCarly revival for it.
Oh, yeah.
All kinds of stuff always going on over there. So if you like hanging out with us here, you should do it there. I'm glad to be back to doing this. I'm glad that we took a little break, but it's nice to
I know
to
it's
come home.
It's been really nice. Been excited all the last few days, especially getting ready for this, and here we are. We get to talk to our dad. We get to talk to each other. It's nice.
I wanted to say I felt like a little bit more return to normalcy this week because for the first time since 2019, I went to the movie theater. And
wow,
it was amazing. Yeah. Well, yeah, the last time I saw a movie was Rise of Skywalker.
Wow.
And we saw 2 films in the
episode
same
11.
Night. Yeah, episode 11. One of the best. That would have been the thing that came out before. So if you haven't checked out our bonus episode about Star Wars, Steven was ranking all the Star Wars movies and somehow got to number 11 on a rant. I don't know. It was weird. But I saw In the Heights in a big-ass Dolby movie theater with some booming speakers, and people were cheering and clapping, and man, it was a really fun way to return to the movie theater, and it felt like normal life again. Lily and I used to go to the movie theater all the time, so that was nice. And then afterwards, we saw A Quiet Place 2, which was pretty good, a good follow-up to the original, but have you seen the first one?
Yes.
It's like silent pretty much the entire time, and it was 10 o'clock, the showing was. People brought 2 or 3 very young children that were noisy throughout the entire movie. And the people sitting next to us had a backpack that was full of Asian takeout. They got out of their bag and they put a seat in between them for the backpack, and they were talking to each other over their Asian food, over the seats. And man, it just felt like home. It just felt like being back at the movie theater, being back at home.
That's incredible. That's really something you can't get the same way when you're watching movies at home. You don't get the sense of community that you get when you're in a theater with other people that paid, to see it and then are making it about them.
And truly, In the Heights is on HBO Max at the same time, but if you feel safe and can make it happen to go see it on a big screen with loudspeakers, it's absolutely the type of movie that I got so much more out of it by seeing it in a big screen, in a big environment. But let's get into things. We've got a big guest. We've got a big conversation. We're going to be back, I think, tomorrow with the first episode of Season 3. I believe that podcast will come out the day after this. So plenty of content on the Riverbend. We're going to be talking about the Season 3 premiere.
Around the Riverbend.
Biology 101. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to diving into Season 3. And I'm looking forward to sharing the great conversation we just had with Papa. I feel like we should say that we asked Matt from Communiess if he wanted to come do an interview, having planned that it would coincide with Father's Day. We didn't tell him that, and we tried to keep it vague so we could surprise our community daddy when he showed up for the interview when we made it weird. So I hope you enjoy. I think it went exactly how I wanted it to go.
It did. I couldn't have asked for a better start to the interview.
All right, we'll see you guys at the start of Season 3 tomorrow, and here it is. This is our interview with Matt from Communiess, the legend.
The myth.
Happy Daddy's Day, everyone.
Happy Day of Dads. Day of the Dad.
Tell your daddy, your chosen daddy, your sugar daddy, your community daddy, whatever daddy you have in your life, make sure you ride them hard with love today.
Yes.
All right, here it is.
Here we go.
And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon. Little boy blue and the man on the moon. When you're coming home, Dad, I don't know when, but we'll get together then.
All
right, I was really hoping that Steven's mom would be here so we could at least be introduced.
It was
Maybe
a dark and
sparks
stormy
will fly.
night. Yeah.
We'll pull a little Parent Trap situation.
Yeah, Zach and I are going to switch places when we introduce you two. It's going to be really confusing for everyone.
Okay, I'm ready. You ready? Let's do this.
All right,
Yeah?
let's do it. Mm-hmm.
All right, everyone. Welcome to a very special bonus episode of You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. We're here with the man that without none of this would be here. This castle would never have been built.
It's true.
He
Brick
is,
by
he
brick.
is the moat bridge to podcast success that we've always needed. And, of course, we're here to celebrate a very special day because today is Father's Day.
Woo!
And we're very excited to have our community father with us today.
Yeah, this is
I
my
did
first
not
time.
realize that's when you're dropping this.
Yeah, it's really important for Zach and I to get to spend our favorite holiday with our favorite guy.
Right.
And we're finally getting to live that dream after
We-
23, 24 years. We
I
finally-
thought-
I really should have done the math on this.
We really thought, what better present to you than to spend this quality time together. And we don't get to anymore. And times have been tough. The coronavirus
Yeah.
has kept us separate, but now we're all here in one place. It's conclusive proof in your parenthood. And welcome to the show, everyone. We're excited.
Yeah.
I am happy to be on You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. So, for a multitude of reasons, and most of it's paternity related. But yes, absolutely.
If people, I don't know how they couldn't have not figured out who we're speaking to right now yet. We've got Matt of the iconic Communiess on Twitter with us. Very exciting. Glad to have you. Sorry I don't have a studio audience to react to that. I'm sure people in their cars are just screaming.
Yeah, there were 6 accidents that just happened because of that announcement. So
They got Communiess? Yeah, we did, guys. We did. This
We
is
did.
real.
There's I'm a really low bar as far as I know. I'm happy to do whatever y'all need. I mean, that's the. I mean, I haven't muted you over this parental thing, so
That's
I feel like
true.
I feel like that's a success mark.
the
us,
biggest favor
not
that
for
could
you.
be done for us, yeah, is
I'm sure people have muted us for a lot less before.
yeah. Some people have muted us for the exact same reasons, which hurts, but
Yeah, we tried out several other community parental figures, but they didn't stick quite as well.
no.
So I'm glad to have you because we just recently did our season 2 roundtable with a bunch of people, and when we were putting it together, it felt wrong that Papa wasn't a part of it. You know,
Yeah.
and I got to thinking that you've pretty much been a bit on our show since the very beginning of it. So why hadn't we had you on yet? So here we are. We're doing it. It's
We
time.
finally made it. The empty seat at the head of our Thanksgiving table is now full.
Yeah,
Well,
it
I
had just been me and
listened to your-
Steven.
I listened to your roundtable. You had the right people there. Ed and Kevin and Alex are all. That was all the 3, right?
And Bo.
And
we
Bo.
had,
And
we had
Bo.
both of
Oh,
the
I'm sorry,
Greendale
Bo was
committee.
there.
But I agreed. I thought that was really fun.
No, I was thinking by podcast and forgot that they switched to a duo. Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the for lack of a better term, watching you kids talk because you're all younger than I am. So I'm gonna call you kids in that category, not
That's okay.
as I.
I don't mind.
You can
Steven
call
and
us
I
your
are
kids
37 years old. So,
We just look extremely young.
yeah.
It's
You
all
know,
the
they say
hormones in
Zoom
the
takes
chicken.
away 10 years.
Yeah.
or adds it or exposes it. Yeah.
Well, okay, so Communiess was a presence that I was even aware of as far back as being in high school, watching Community as it aired probably around seasons 4 and 5 was the Twitter
Yeah.
active then?
Absolutely.
And
Very much.
So it was especially your red profile picture. I feel like I remembered that, seeing it all the time. I when we started the podcast, almost instantly we got messages from you, and that was the very first obviously I didn't know anything about you but it was just something that was closer to community that I was aware of that was inviting us in, and it felt like a step closer to the thing that we're here to talk about. So it was really cool for us then, and now that we've networked and abused you in so many ways, it's a good circle. It's a good story, I think.
Yeah, I remember getting a text from Zach that's like, "Hey, this like community page, just messaged us and said, they're excited. They're gonna tweet out the episode when we post it, and it's so cool." And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome!" And I like looked at your page, like, "Oh yeah, I see all these followers. That's so cool." And we didn't even know that you were our dad then, and that you were watching over us all
Neither did
along.
he.
Yeah, that was not known by anyone.
Something special was born that day, and I wonder how many community podcasts have also come and gone in the year and change since then. Quite a few, I would say.
Wow. I think there's at least 3. If I can think of, I know 2 for sure, but I'm pretty sure it's 3 that it stopped after. No, I think one completed a whole season, first season. And why am I drawing a blank? I adore her, talking to her, but I'm just drawing a blank.
Are you talking about Fluffy Town?
Fluffy Town?
Fluffy Town, yeah. So Fluffy Town was there for
that
a year.
was
She
great.
just
Got
got
to
real
hang
busy
out
in her
with
real life, so she went back to doing her real life. That was
Must be
great
nice.
for her.
Yeah.
And she had such a lovely voice. And there were 2 others did a couple episodes and they were gone. And one of them restarted a different podcast recently, so they're doing
really?
something completely different. And happy for them. And there's a new one that is dropping one like in the next week.
All the time. Oh
yeah,
And
it's like 19 active podcasts right now.
That's wild.
I feel like what I've been able to pick up on with kind of getting to know you a little bit over the last year is just that you're really passionate about the pieces of art and media that you love. And like sharing that and gathering people together that also love the same thing together in support of the thing. And I just think it's so great how that's driven you down this path of so many people that are making community-based content that now, I don't know, that even through your love of community, it's gone on to even a bigger community. I think it's really, really cool that something that I'm rambling. I don't know what the exact point is, but I think it's really cool that that we're all being brought together, all the content creators. And I think that's awesome that you seek them all out and lift them up.
Because I think we absolutely...
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Steven.
Well, I would say I don't think we absolutely wouldn't have the community of podcasters that we do if you weren't kind of the linchpin that brought us all into the same room together, in the same space, and the amount of like friendships and connections that we've made from that. We can't even start to thank you enough.
Give all the credit to the members there. Mike is one of the original 3 that started the account. When I started helping around the anniversary, when Mike and I started talking about it, like, look at all these podcasters, because there was just like next to nothing, and then all of a sudden there's 7, and then there's 9, and of course then there's like 18, 19, and we talked to about what do we do, because we're bigger than all of them, and not as a negative, but we're bigger than all of them. We want to make, how can we help them? How do we do the best we can? And how do we avoid trouble? Because look, you're all talking about the same show that has exactly 110 episodes and that has the same number of cast members, that none of these things are kind of variant. So how do you control this resource, basically, where you don't mistreat the podcasters? And Mike, being a good Canadian, and I both agreed on this idea of just love them all, just embrace them all, whatever they need, do whatever you can. And so that's what we've done. And Mike's been on multiple podcasts that talk about the show. I've done a bunch. And our answer is always, when do you want us? Nothing else. I would personally, I would love to be on more episodes where they're talking about the show.
Yeah.
But that's not what you need. And Mike and I have talked about, we talked about a podcast at one point, and we're like, no, we can't do that and do this.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's unfair to you.
It would be hard to promote yourself and promote everyone else at the same time.
Yeah.
I love the community of podcasters that we have, but it can be in the beginning when you're starting off and trying to establish
it's
yourself.
Be scary, yeah.
I wouldn't say scary because everyone's so nice, but it kind of goes from, oh, I have this podcast idea I'm so excited about, to like, oh, there's a bunch of them.
There's more of this than any other podcast that I know of outside of people trying to tell you how to eat better and exercise more. I mean, or news podcasts. I think Community is right up front of that list. No, look, there's what we tell everybody when they start off is, especially if we get a message from, we've gotten messages from multiple podcasters and active ones still right now, where they're
Are we
like,
getting
okay,
some scoops.
well, no, it's what they're saying is, okay, we don't know if we need to keep doing this, and we don't know if we're doing what we want to do, and we're worried nobody will listen, and what every podcaster goes through early on.
sure.
And so the response we tell all of you is, look, number one, you better enjoy what you're doing. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you enjoy making this thing, make that thing and be done with it, and don't worry about it. And the other thing is, be whoever you are, and that is unique. That's really the best part. What I used to teach history, and you're trying to explain to people why that they can write a paper that's going to be good when they don't think they can write, and the answer is always the same. Your perspective, the way you put things together, the way you see the world, the way you do 20 seconds to Stephen watch this episode, all those things are unique to you. And that's what makes it valuable. And that's what can be valuable to others, even if it's not, I don't have a favorite. I
don't
love
believe that.
listening to I listen to 19. I just don't have time.
I appreciate that opinion. I appreciate that stance that you are inclusive of everyone, but I don't believe that somewhere in your heart that you don't have some type of favorite, or at least a top five
you
or something.
All do things I like, but you don't all do them. Like the new Hop On, one of them teaches, I think he teaches English, I think Colin teaches English at college level. He does not talk about the shows the way you do, and it is really thoughtful and with words that have like 8 syllables on occasion, and I enjoy him immensely.
8? I actually I've been listening through their Arrested Development episodes, because I personally don't listen to the other community podcasts, not because...
You probably shouldn't, yeah.
It's because I do it, and I don't want to get caught up in what people do that I don't do, or I don't know. I like what we do.
No.
And I can tell that other people are doing cool stuff. I'll check them out later, probably.
Yeah, I tell people to, if you're not sure what you're doing, listen to the other ones to get an idea, to get a structural idea. And then I tell them do your own version. So don't try to repeat what Alex is doing, or either one of the Alexes. We have enough podcasts where we have multiple of the same name.
Crazy.
So use whoever you are, do that. And that's the most interesting version you can be. And that's the interesting part. It's don't paint it by numbers. If you're only doing it to paint by numbers, there's already people that kind of do that as part of what they're doing, and they still have stuff that's extra.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the way you do it. Look, it's favorite. There's something everybody does that I enjoy, or I can't listen to it. I like the way you two talk to each other. I like the way Good Greendale talks to each other. I think both of you have a very funny, comfortable rapport, and the way you do it is interesting. When Dom and Andre are recording, I love the way they talk to each other. And
unfortunately,
all three
we've had them
completely
taken
different.
out. They won't be coming back. We've had them taken out. I missed them, though. They were a great presence on the
I edited
on the
mixology
podcast
for them, so they're just in a particular place right now where they're busy.
Doing a podcast is hard, especially, I don't know, it's nice that Community kind of has a set end point. Yeah. But trying to put out something once a week, every week, and 1 or 2 people are doing it, it's pretty tough. So
whatever your schedule is, it's hard.
Yeah.
Being on a schedule is hard. I mean, it's incredible. Like, think about what 6 seasons in a podcast goes through. How do you be on a schedule where you don't control your content? It's when somebody's available. So he's got a task in front of him that's different than everybody else's. Y'all have to find an hour, 2 hours to record these things every week.
Yeah,
no problem.
Regardless well, you may have the free time, but you don't always have that free energy. You've got things in your life you have to do, and so I'm impressed at how well people keep going. I mean, that's the hard part. That's the secret to successful podcasts, or successful to the level that you'll be happy with, is being able to do it every week, because that's what listeners want. And you'll do an excellent job of that. So no, I find it. I feel for all of you. I think this is the best way to say it. I feel for all of you. Once you get started and get going, it's a point in time where it's a grind.
Yeah, I'm definitely very grateful for Zach, because I know that if I were the one who had to do like the editing and stuff, it would not be out every week. That's for damn sure.
It'd be out in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we'll see.
I get in a good habit of we record the podcast and I edit it on the same day. So I have one day that is completely off and I knock it out and then I don't really think about it the rest of the week. So that works out pretty well. But it certainly takes a long time and it can be a grind. But putting something out like this and having people engage with it, and to circle back, like meeting people like you and like how you said all the people that we had for our roundtable that we didn't know a year ago, and it genuinely felt like being in a room of friends that I had known for a long time. There's so much comfort between all of us. I feel like there's a lot of trust between all of us, and it's really special. It makes it all worth any grind at all.
I can't tell you how nice it is to have people that just love the show and want to talk about it. It's great.
Well, let's talk about the show. What was your very earliest Community memory? Were you a day one adopter?
No,
what was the
Mike
first thing you heard about?
Mike on the account, he watched the pilot. I watched Modern Warfare when all the newspapers and TV critics, shouldn't say newspapers anymore, I don't think anybody reads them. When TV critics had a absolute fit after Modern Warfare, when that came out and everybody was like, this is the most ambitious television we've ever seen, and it was really well done. And then I went and watched it, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is incredible!
Absolutely,
I want more of this." And so I started finding ways to get caught up, and I was current by season 2's opener. That's the first one I watched live. Is Anthropology 101.
At that point, was it a little bit of a challenge to find it to catch up?
A little bit. I mean, I can't remember. I think Hulu wasn't full on. It wasn't. It was definitely. It's not next day at that point. But you did have some options. You did have some on demand where you could roll back and watch some last couple of episodes. So all I remember is watching Modern Warfare and then spending the summer getting caught up, and just loving the show and loving the cast and loving how they did what they were doing. Look, if you've seen, like I have, I watched every episode of Cheers back when I did not have a VCR. Wow. I had to watch it live, and if I missed it, I had to pay attention to the TV guide to make sure I caught it that night. And I'd play sick if I had to. I need to be home on Thursday at that hour and that half hour. But when you watch a show like that, there's a lot of shows that don't hold up to that show. I mean, Cheers is, I think, Cooperstown as far as great television, sitcom television. And they had like 9 years or something. Community was the first show I watched that was close.
Wow.
At being that good, that funny, that consistent, and surprised me.
And so daring at the same time.
Absolutely.
There were plenty of good sitcoms of the early 2000s that were kind of like trailblazers towards this a single camera, non-laugh track world that we're in the game as Community. And there were a lot of good ones, but it did seem like it was just kind of, they all had the same vibe.
Yeah.
And then Community came and did everything. It was a classic sitcom in all the best ways, but it was also more daring than any of the experimental ones in all of the best ways. It really is special. So when you first watched it, seeing Modern Warfare, was it the scope of it that drew you so much to it? It was, or the cast, or any
it's the ability
characters?
to do literally anything on the screen and make it work. That was the amazing part. Look, a lot of television is really good. Office is a great show. I can't take it. Parks and Rec is a great show. But you know what? I kind of know where they're going 10 minutes into the episode. I know how it's going to end.
It's true.
Community did not let me have that. I multiple times would watch an episode and come back and go, oh, this is the best episode I've ever seen in my life. I mean, when I saw I did the advanced D&D. I said that when I watched that episode. When the virtual system analysis, when I watched that, I remember finding my wife in the house, my wife, finding a wife in the house saying, "This is the greatest television show I've ever seen because they can literally do anything."
And was your wife like, "Okay, I'm a lawyer.
That's great. Can you do this in another room?" Yeah, she's highly tolerant of my obsessions. She was mostly happy when I got to talk to Joel McHale, but outside of that, she's just highly tolerant of my obsessions. But no, I really, this show told a story in a way I didn't expect, did it in a way I didn't expect, did it better than I thought other shows did, and I just love watching it, and I love the social media. This is where I wasn't on Twitter before this.
Right.
That's the only reason I got a Twitter account is Community.
Community was a great time for Twitter too, because I know Dan Harmon was really heavy on Twitter during seasons 1 through 3 or so.
The first 3, he's incredibly incredibly active during the first 3. The whole cast was, they were actively doing it on purpose as to promote the show. And so the whole cast, the writers, and Dan, of course, were all actively, trying to get people to watch the show and to interact with the fans. It was great. I mean, my second message ever, direct message ever, is from Danny Pudi.
Wow.
That's awesome.
I can never delete Twitter because of it.
Yeah.
It's just a little, and it's a mini. I don't even know what he was talking about now. It's because it was just a response to something I tweeted, and he just sent it as a direct message. I don't remember what it was. I feel really bad. I don't know why I got this message, but it's my second message ever.
That's awesome.
I'm going to always keep that account. I'm going to obey the terms of service. I need to keep that message.
So then let's segue into that. So how did you get involved with Communities? You say you got Twitter to interact with community. Did you just start with a personal Twitter?
Yeah, I started with a personal Twitter because I just, Community talked about Twitter. The show mentioned it. The show paid attention to it. And I noticed that if there were people talking about the show, that's where they were. I mean, there's fandoms on Reddit. I don't want to take that away. There's Facebook as well. But Twitter was honestly home for a big part of those people.
To live watch something along with a bunch of people. Yeah.
To live watch and to respond and the hashtag and to get the attention, get all they had 3 things trending on one night, on multiple nights, on Thursday nights on a regular basis. I mean, they're really good at it. The Annie's Move is the obvious one that was incredibly effective.
I can't wait to get to that episode.
Yeah, it's great, and it was so well done. They had a mini episode before the season 2 opener. I didn't even know about at the time on Twitter, where they're having a little conversation between the not the actors but the character accounts. So I mean, they were super active in it, and they were smart about it. And so if you wanted to get a like from one of the actors or get a response from one of the actors from the show, Facebook wasn't your place. Instagram wasn't really a thing. It was Twitter. And so that was definitely where it was. And I started getting to know people there. Jen from Rewatch. I knew Jen because she was writing reviews by the 3rd season. But I knew her before that. Most of my friends.
That's cool.
Oh, yeah. Just About Right's her website. Right with the WR. Most of the people I have that I talk to on Twitter are people I got from Community. There's very few people from my own personal life or professional work. That's not what Twitter's for me. Twitter was solely for the purpose of me, as my real son says, fangirling over Community, and I'm happy. That's exactly what it's for, and I love it.
Well, that's really cool. What you say Danny messaged you. What are some of your early cast interactions that you remember that really got you going?
I'm trying to remember. You get likes and stuff from Ken. Ken liked a ton of stuff.
Even to this day, he's great.
Ken's great. Ken and McKenna follow my personal account before I was running Communities. I always thought that was like, yay.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I'll take that. And they've been absolutely great. I don't bother them.
But I could.
I could totally be somebody they unfollow. It's just like that. But no, you get responses from them, just random stuff during the show when they could. I mean, remember, a lot of times they're still recording episodes, so you'd never get a response till it was late in the season. They're no longer recording. But you get stuff randomly all the time, just little interactions.
That's awesome.
Gillian wasn't that active. Allison was, Yvette was, Ken was, Joel some, but Joel's working 2 jobs too, so he was busy.
So then, as the show was going on and you got more involved with it, what was it like as the show was really on rocky renewal terms? Probably, I guess, going into season 3. Were you really invested in the Christmas Troy type stuff that was going on?
Yeah, I was. If you're on Twitter and you're paying attention to Community, you got connected to the people who are active. So, Mike, Catherine, Lisa, Jen is one of them. I can't believe I'm blank. Kim, she's the fan attorney. It's a part of her name on the Twitter account. Sean, there's a bunch of people that were active, and some of them live in New York, and those that live in New York went to Rockefeller Center and did stuff, and you got to interact with them. I got to be good friends with Catherine and with Mike and with others. I mean, my favorite people on social media outside of the podcasters or the people I met before the podcasters from the community. So we get to be we're just this large group of people abused on the internet because we're constantly wanting our show to get renewed and to be renewed with some, quickly. So don't show us the final episode and wait till the end of the month to tell us something.
While everything else was getting renewed at the same time.
Yeah, or where you get pulled in the middle of right after Christmas, and you just refuse to watch NBC on anything until that is over.
I didn't start. I found Community in between seasons 3 and 4, and I got the seasons from my library, and I just watched the DVDs intensely for a really long time. And then season 4, I got really involved online when the show was maybe going to get canceled, maybe going to get renewed. I remember when it got canceled, I had I had a friend who was one of the only people at school at the time who was a Community friend, and I remember calling him and being like, "Bad news, buddy. Community got canceled. We're not getting season." I guess that would have been season 6 at the time. Yeah. I don't know. It was really fun to be so emotionally invested in not just the show and the characters, but telling everybody you knew about this show so we can keep it going because it needs to go on.
It was definitely a cult. Yeah, we were in a
absolutely
version of a cult. Not an effective one, didn't raise money, didn't cause you to do strange things, but it was definitely, it was an emotional cult of some sort. That you could, what was, Pritchett was on Harmontown after season 6, and somebody asked her what it was like to work for Dan. She's like, "It's like a Stockholm syndrome that you really love." I mean, it's this abusive situation that you end up with something great because of it. So I mean, that was being in the fandom was very similar. I mean. You were constantly refreshing Twitter because we all just used the main account if we weren't using our phone. You're constantly have to refresh to see what's latest coming up. You were constantly messaging with people, trying to find things you could do. You were searching for the stuff. If you advertise for Community, we tweeted you. So if you were toothpaste or whatever you were, we thanked you for supporting our show.
Oh,
By the way,
awesome.
that's what you're supposed to do to save a show. That's actually how it works. Don't tweet the show.
Get involved with the people who are sponsoring.
Tell the people who are
they
paying
still
money for it
sponsor.
they like it. Yeah, that you want it. So that was a big help. We think there's always questions about how useful the fandom was, but we
Right.
did keep people talking. I mean, Catherine was outside of Rockefeller Center with her violin playing music by herself.
Wow.
Literally, like that was one of the first things they did. Then they show up after the holiday episode with felt beards and sing made up Christmas songs to make sure people couldn't ignore it. And they got press from this.
Yeah, you say you don't know how much the fandom helped, but I don't think we would have gotten season 4 and season 5 without that huge push for give us the rest of season 3. I think they saw how serious they were enough to. I'm sure it was super expensive to fire Dan Harmon and rehire new people to run this show that wasn't doing that well in the first place.
Yeah.
I don't think any of that happens without the people putting on fake beards and standing outside 30 Rock. Whether they were, I don't know whether it got noticed at the time. I think the people who were paying for it noticed for sure.
Well, I think regularly what they would say was, or at least they could say, is look, there's a floor to this fan base that will not drop below.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember watching season 4, and I talked about how great it was on Twitter. It was not a great season compared to the other ones, but it was my show with my characters doing that thing that I really enjoy. I didn't know all this stuff was going on. I tweeted about how much I enjoyed the episodes. I'm sure I did.
No,
that was not true.
Yeah.
Completely. You're disappointed in some of them, but yeah.
Yeah, but you still enjoyed them. Now, at what point did you guys, was it one person's idea to kind of form together and make the Communities page? Or did one person make it and then kind of brought on other people to help with it? Or how did that all come about?
That was a group. That was Mike, Lisa, and Catherine put it together. Catherine was really busy wherever she was, constantly doing stuff, getting people together. When Communities take Manhattan, she's there. They're a big part of that group that does that. Mike was helpful online. Lisa's an artist. She made some artwork. She made the Communities logo that you were talking about earlier. That was made by Lisa.
Nice.
I'll remember her account number later, but they did it because they were trying to organize the fandom for the purpose of communicating whatever's happening, to get people organized to tweet together. So the account's initial existence is about that organization. They've been doing it as individuals, and so the Communiess account was created to help save the show.
This sounds so much
and
like a cult.
it. Yes, it does.
We're pushing the message forward. We're gathering together and pushing.
And if you buy shampoo and then the person you bring in buys shampoo, you get a little piece of it. It's like it's kind of like a pyramid of money, not a scheme. Yeah, it's very much. It was an emotional pyramid that never paid out like that. Yeah.
So did all of the podcast stuff and supporting the podcast, did that come all after the series had ended? When did?
Oh yeah.
Was Alex the first one?
No. I think technically Jen was the first one we noticed because we knew her. I mean, I knew Jen. When Jen said, if I did a podcast about community, would you be interested? And we were like, yeah.
Yes.
And then we started looking around and it was like, there's others. Alex was really close to the first. I can't remember which one of them's older. Neither of them older by much. I mean, like there's a drinking in community where they basically drink different drinks to match the episode. It's like a pairing.
That's awesome.
It's
That's
really
pretty
nice. Yeah, they've been busy with their own lives for several months, so or over a year now. So they already existed before all of them. There was another podcast before Alex, but we didn't know they were there. So it was Alex and Jen. I can't remember what else. Just a handful. I think there was like 4 when we first made the group. I think the total was 4.
Wow.
And what did you say we're at now? We're below 20, but not far below 20,
19,
right?
I
I think there are technically 18 active podcasts.
Active meaning they've all put out episodes.
They put it up in the last couple of months, yeah. Because
Wow.
Dom and Andre they got their own lives in the way. They'll be back probably.
Not
by
if
the
we
new
have
year.
anything to do with it. They won't.
Leave them alone.
Oh, it was so fun to have that thing with them because it really
Yeah.
did feel like we both started within a week of each other, and
Oh,
we
yeah.
were the same thing, doing the same thing.
Same episodes.
Yeah.
And they had me on first, by the way. Just want you to know, I was on there months ago.
Well, you had to prove yourself a little bit more. You had to
Had to cut your teeth down there in the,
No, they. I'm trying to think of it. Yeah, I think the first thing there was 4, and then there was 7. And part of it was just to say to everybody, whatever you're doing, we're going to promote you. And if you need help with anything, we're here to help you. And that's it. And we honestly, when we first started making this group thing, I thought this is where I can basically come down like Moses and let y'all know how things are going on things. And that was it. And y'all have just turned it into a group of people that really care about each other and care about doing well and invite each other on each other's shows. And y'all made it something I never expected. To borrow a phrase, a community. And I really, I really appreciate it.
Oh, that group chat has been. Yeah, any initial sense of, oh my God, it's all of these people who seem so cool and maybe a little bit older and more put together than me, and now we are just friends. I feel like I could strike up a conversation with so many of those people about community or anything really, and they'd be good people to go to.
Everybody runs into problems on social media, and everybody has reactions to it, and sometimes people need help with it, and they're like, hey, what do we do with this person? And you or what do you do with this subject matter? How do you deal with this problem? Like when all this, like last year, Ed says, I want to do something about Black Lives Matter. I want to raise money. Can we use your YouTube channel? And we literally only have the YouTube channel because we were going to talk to Chris McKenna. Can we use it because it has more followers than everyone else's for the purposes of having this, watch all the episodes live stream with the podcasters? And we were like, yeah, absolutely. Don't know who's going to be able to help you, but yeah.
And what a day that turned out to be.
Yeah,
we
that
talk
was
about
incredible.
that
That was a great day.
as kind of being the, I don't know, one of the really formative pieces of our podcast beginning. I'm sure that's the first time that we chatted with each other was during that.
is.
And that's when we met Ed and Kevin and so many other people, and Dom and Andre even. And instantly it was like we hit it off, and it just felt like I was the kid in high school who loved Community so much but didn't have anyone to talk to about it, or anyone who I could talk to about it didn't care about it. And all of a sudden I'm in a group chat with 30 other people that were also that kid, regardless of where they were coming from at the time. It's really, really nice. It shows the best in Twitter and social media.
Yeah, look, Twitter is a fire hose, and part of it's on fire. I mean, it's really, it can be a really difficult social media platform, but you can carve out through your own interests a place that's yours, and you can participate. And I think that's what we've done, not just the podcasters, but the community fans, where there are people drawing pictures of Abed Nadir, today.
Yeah.
That show hasn't been on for 6 years. Today, somebody drew a really nice photo of Abed Nadir. There was an artist, Matt, that drew for 100 days straight a different version of the Dean.
Those were awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
They were amazing. I mean, this is such a talented group of people that have been largely, for different reasons, overlooked, shunned, excluded, or didn't feel like they fit in. And I am just happy that what we can do with the account is connecting with other people that agree with them about not even, you don't have to love every bit of the show. You don't have to ship Trobad. You don't have to ship Jeff and Annie. You don't have to ship anything. We don't ship, the account doesn't ship anything on purpose. Don't care. Whatever gets you on this show, let it get you. And we're not going to tell you it can't. So, yeah, there's a bunch of new fans since it hit Netflix.
Absolutely.
Just a bunch of new followers of this account. There's just a bunch of people still talking about the show. And I'll tell you what's really fun is you'll see people on Twitter going, I enjoy watching Community. Do I have any moots? Do I have any friends who actually watch it with me?
And you're like, yes, here's 20,000 people.
Hi, I'm part of 17,000 people who would love to talk about this show. It's great. I love that part. That's the best part of this. The best part is the fans themselves.
It is amazing to see how many, and I mean, Steven and I are young, but how many younger people are finding the show and really falling in love with it, showing how truly evergreen it is. I feel like I'm always seeing people that are high school age or younger or a little bit older that love the show, and I love that for the show.
In the last year, the age bracket's probably dropped 10 years.
Wow. Yeah, I was going to ask you I know obviously last year was a big year for Community with getting put on Netflix.
Huge, yeah.
And the timing with everyone being at home a lot of people watched the show that hadn't before. And I was curious I know the show's probably had some other spikes. I'm sure when Donald started to get more notoriety and got more famous, a lot of people watched the show. Same thing probably with Allison. Was last year probably the biggest jump that the show has had since it went off the air in viewership, do you think?
Since it went off the air, last year was it.
Wow.
With the exception of seasons airing 2 and 3, is the greatest time to be a fan of this show ever. Right now.
Wow.
Right now, this is it. This is it.
Everyone always says 6 seasons in a movie, and obviously that would be incredible to see it live out the way that we were a little bit promised that it would. It started off as a joke, but then the show very much gave it to us as a rallying cry and took place in the mythos of it just as much as the fandom did.
Look, Fat Neil was a joke. Fat Neil is a joke in an episode, and that's all they're saying is I just saw Fat Neil. We need to go before he gets the last of the lima beans. And that was literally the beginning of creating the character Neil. So them making a joke and then it becoming canon is kind of normal.
Kind of their thing.
Yeah. But look, Dan said in November of 2020 to stay tuned.
Yes.
Also,
but
don't
also,
harp on it because he will block you on
say,
Instagram.
Right? What else are they going to say at this point?
Somebody said to him, make it. All right, here's all the things that I know. I'll sum it all up for you.
Everyone wants to do it.
In May of last year, before the table reads public, May of last year, Dan says on Instagram, just a comment he's making, he says, the thing that everybody wants, people are talking about. And there's meetings. That's as far as he goes with it, really.
And that thing was 15 more seasons of Rick and Morty.
This is post.
It's coming, guys.
It's after the 7, whatever the whatever the 70 episode order they got for Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was after that, and he says the thing that the fans want, that conversation's happening. Then both Allison and Yvette say that Sony called them,
Okay, I didn't know
asking
that.
them about doing a movie. Now, Joel has always said they never called him, but I'm pretty sure they called him, and he's just telling us that story because
Or they know that they don't have to call Joel. Almost, he's down.
Joel will do it.
Joel and Ken are down. They might be busy, but they're down.
Yeah, so they call out. We know they call Allison directly. We know they call Yvette directly. I'm pretty sure they called the rest of the cast except for Chevy about it. Then they have the table read, and Donald says he'll do it. And what Dan has said since the show's ended is this really simple thing. I can't pour my heart into writing a Community movie, and it never happened. That would be a miserable experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened was when Donald says he would actually be interested in doing it, that made it sound like it's much more likely. So we spent June that way. And then in November of the same year, somebody says, hey, why did you write this Biden commercial thing for the human beings? Why didn't you write a movie? And his response was, stay tuned, and lawyers were involved.
I think I did hear that. That's exciting. And
Yeah.
a Community movie.
There's
man.
one last thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to get to it. Sony signed a deal with Netflix, and Sony is the property that owns Community.
I was gonna
Sony
ask
signed a
who
deal
owns
with
it, yeah.
Netflix just like 2-3 months ago to put their movies on Netflix for the next foreseeable years.
Okay.
So
It would make sense.
Yeah.
everything is in place,
The
but a
table is
script. At the moment somebody says there's a script, then the whole collectively we should all lose our minds.
Yeah, everyone's going nuts.
And that's
But
the thing,
until
though. I
then,
can
we
see
can't.
how hard it is for Dan Harmon who already, struggles a lot, not like has a self struggle to be able to tell us the stories that he likes to tell. He puts himself through a lot to tell stories that he likes, and he thinks about every little detail. I'm sure just the thought of navigating what the plot would be would give him an aneurysm or something. A Community movie would have
And he's
to
going to change it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have to both be so many different things that everybody wants it to be, and also something that none of us are expecting at all. And that's just what show has come back after that period and it not been met with it's cool to see everyone again, but not saying that Community isn't good enough to be the thing that turns that around.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's daunting, I'm sure.
Yeah, Psych has done it.
That's
They're
a good
making a
example.
third movie
Yeah.
for crying out loud.
That's a good
Arrested
example,
Development,
sure.
not so much. And look, Dan's writing style and the way he gets to the humor of the story is brutal emotionally for him, as far as I can tell, and I don't think he's found a way around it. But he has gotten better with a writing staff on Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
You don't hear horror stories like that stuff anymore. I think that's helped. I think having a writing staff, he's talked about it repeatedly about, particularly for Community, never realizing what a great set of people he had behind him. He knew he had talent. He had funny people.
But
he
it was
never
about
really
him.
gave them enough credit for what they were doing. And he tried to do all the time, but he just realized that, if I could have learned to step back a little bit, they could have made these episodes and made them better, faster, more efficiently.
Yeah.
But it was he was so emotionally tied to it, it didn't work. I mean, Jeffrey and Abed are both two parts of Dan's personality.
Sure.
So for him, those voices are his. And
I
that
remember
has
the
to be
comments he
incredibly
made
hard.
about watching season 4, and I won't repeat them, but how he said watching season 4 felt, and I can totally see that if it's someone takes away your toys from you and then tells a story with it. It's like you're telling it wrong. You're playing with them wrong.
Everything's wrong. Everything
Regardless
about it
of the
just felt
quality.
wrong.
Season
It
4
would not
definitely has
matter.
its ups and downs. There's some
Yeah.
really, really phenomenal episodes in season 4, but I cannot imagine almost it would be worse for Dan if the episodes were phenomenal.
Yeah,
I feel
I
like
think
that
so.
would
that'd
just be
be-
so hard to watch.
Oh, I think. I mean, I'm sure some of them he watches, he's like, I wish I'd have wrote that. There's some great lines in season 4, but there are things that were. Look, they weren't pulling from whole cloth to write season 4. They had ideas. They were floating around. They were on the storyboards. There were ideas, and they finally, found a way to make them stories. And some of them worked really well, and some of them didn't. And those are stories Dan wanted to tell in his own voice. And to him, they were all burned after that. He can't use them. And so, I mean, that was part of his frustration. If you listen to the Harmontown discussion about it, and I think Andy talked about it some, he was not there when Dan first got back. And I think Tim Sicardo said, congratulations, that was brutal. Because Tim was season 4 and season 5.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a good argument for what you're saying. I think it's hard for him to do, but I hope he's done it.
Mm-hmm.
I
hope he's done it.
I mean, they definitely all know that they can't play with us like that. Regardless of whether or not it happens, there's a lot of stuff that has to happen right and that has to happen at the same time for it all to line up and happen. But they couldn't be dangling it in front of our face if I don't know.
Yeah, well, look at how they answer, and I think Joel does the best job of answering the question. He says the same thing every time. And he does that because he knows if it's just a little different, we're going to freak out, even if he means there's no difference, like nothing's changed. So Joel, you'll notice, he's like, hey, he makes this plane metaphor every time it comes up. He's like, it's like putting together a Boeing 747 or something. It's a lot of parts and a lot of people have to be involved. He's completely right about that. But we don't want to hear that stupid plane thing. We want to hear this, we're filming in October. That's the phrase I want to hear. I want to hear that. I think, by the way, I think that's the right window for everybody's schedules. I think that would actually work out. But yeah, that's what everybody wants.
I would almost personally rather, instead of a theatrical length movie, have something a la Gilmore Girls: A Year in the Life, and have like 3 or 4 hour to hour and a half or so long things. Because how can a movie be, you want the big homage part of it, but how can it be that? I'm sure they could do it just fine, but I would love to see something that
did
takes
they
us a
ever
little
turn
bit
an
farther.
homage off? I mean, that's the problem with
true.
every one of those. You can't turn it off until the end, and so there's a technical story. This is from a story standpoint. It's really difficult to do. You could rescue somebody from an homage story, so that argument they could do something like that. I know a lot of people have opinions about what it would be, and I've joked that it always should start in Atlanta because that's where Donald is.
Yeah,
and it started in Teddy's mansion. With Abed walking out the door saying, "Hey, I'll be back in a little bit" or something, and Troy inside saying, "Okay, see you in whatever," and that be the start, and then have whatever the MacGuffin is Abed going and getting all the people together because we just
they got to save Greendale again or something, probably.
Or whatever the thing is. Yeah, maybe they're coming to Leonard's funeral. Maybe they're coming to Greendale becoming a 4-year college. That sounds ridiculous.
That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, there or showing up for Jeff's wedding for whoever he's marrying. I don't care. Whatever the subject matter is, they could do whatever. And Dan writes in a way that I don't put these limits on him. He can do whatever he wants. And
you're right.
I'm going to watch it.
Yeah. Oh, of course we're gonna watch it. That was never part of the argument.
I'm going to watch it.
Yeah,
it could be the worst thing ever, and I would watch it 20 times.
But I'll tell you the version that sucks if it sounds just like the thing that I think it'll be. That's the version of Community that'll never be, and I know that's a problem for Dan because
it has to be something daring.
That?
Yeah.
How do you do that with set 7 characters like they do? It's a tall order.
And it's incredible that they did it for as long as they did on the show. I mean, talk about how hard a movie would be to put together. They did it for 110 episodes, give or take a few, right?
Yeah. Dan made 97 21-minute movies. Okay,
yeah.
That's the quality we're dealing with. So yeah, I think there's an easy thing to say. This is going to be incredibly hard, and we just really hope that he pulls it off.
Yeah. So talking a little bit more about the end of the show, were you really heartbroken when Dan was fired at first? Was that something that you took a lot of, I don't know, did you pay a lot of attention to what was going on for season 4? Did you worry for the show?
Oh yeah. Well, you get a half order. Half order usually means you're not coming back for a whole order later. You're filling in for somebody else. Thank God everybody loses to Big Bang Theory and Survivor and whatever that singing show was.
The Voice, probably.
No, it was American Idol.
American
Idol on Fox.
Still? Okay.
Yeah. So you had all these shows just beating and then I think football didn't even get on the channels on Thursday night yet. Not NFL. So you were getting beat up by whatever, and every show got beat up afterwards. So that was mildly comforting. It's the only time I watched TV ratings for shows I didn't watch was to figure out if they outperformed
How bad we're
Community,
losing.
and none of them could. None of them get close. And that kind of helped them. That and they were getting closer to syndication numbers. So the more episodes they had, ultimately, the better off
I
they
remember
would be.
those conversations, and well, look, I mean, we were just a few years away from streaming becoming the juggernaut that it really is. It probably doesn't matter that much anymore if you made it to 100 episodes or not.
Oh, you can show you got 20 something episodes. There's like 20. I think it's not even 20. There's like 15, 18 episodes of a show called Better Off Ted. It's an excellent, funny show.
It's
Better
a
Off Ted's
phenomenal show. I
hilarious.
love
It's
Better
an
Off
amazing
Ted.
show. Jay Harrigan is one of my favorite people. I always wanted to dress as good as Ted did. I
Yeah.
mean,
That was a
Let's-
really good show.
yeah, just stellar cast. I mean, there's not 20 episodes of that, and it streams. It's always moving around, but it streams, and it's great. It's
Yeah.
very funny. And it had slightly higher ratings in Community and got cut after 2 years by ABC.
Did
We're
it really?
lucky. Oh, yes.
Wow.
2 years.
I remember I
Wow.
had so much fun. I think Better Off Ted was on the couple of years that Scrubs was on ABC. And I think I would watch the two of them back to back. And
Yeah.
it was a
Better Off
great
Ted
evening.
was those Viridian commercials are still
So
funny.
funny.
The
So
episode
funny.
where there's like this is such a track that we're
topic.
going down, but whatever. The episode where there's like a sensor that the company has
That
to
is the
open doors and
funniest
stuff,
episode they have.
and
It's-
it
yeah.
doesn't see the black employees.
Oh my god.
It
so
does
funny.
see the people of the Polynesians. It does see people from Hawaii. It just didn't happen to
Doesn't see the one black guy that works.
It doesn't see any of the African American employees, but it saw but it sees the Pacific Islanders. And they're like, hey, that's the good part of this, and the way they get rid of it is they tell management the problem ultimately is parking. It's a perfectly funny episode.
It's a great show.
Single camera.
If you like Community and you haven't checked out Better Off Ted, there's not a lot of it, but it'd be an easy binge for a fan of
Just
yeah.
Google Viridian and look up their diversity ad, and if that doesn't hook you, there's nothing that can help you, because it says we're happy we'll shake on it, and it's two white hands.
Oh. Arrested Development's one of my favorite shows of all time, and Portia de Rossi, I like her
Fabulous
way more
in the
in
show.
Better Off Ted.
Oh,
You
yeah.
should-
Way better and Better Off Ted.
the first, sorry, Community fans, but the first 3 seasons of Arrested Development, I think, are untouchable by anything else.
Never
when,
watched it.
When they brought it back, I was glad to see it back, but it was a mess.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
first 3 seasons are damn
Rest
near
Development's
perfect.
pretty really tough to touch.
So when Dan then got brought back in season 5, did you feel? I don't know. Did you feel really invigorated like everyone else did? Did you think now this show's gonna
Absolutely.
last forever?
The first time I got to see Comic-Con where he walks out there and Rob Schrab's design Transformer
Iron Man thing,
or
right?
Iron Man thing,
Yeah.
where he pulls that thing on back and does that bit. I ate that up. I was completely in, because the voice of the show, the best part of the humor was missing from the show, and Dan coming back meant it was going to be something I didn't expect, and it was funny.
Yeah.
And it
And that's
very
where I
much
wanted
was
to be.
something that I didn't expect when we got season 5. And I love
Oh, yeah.
season 5 is almost the season that's most personal to me because I was so invested when it was airing. Because
Yeah.
season 4 was my first favorite, or my first season that I watched live, and then season 5 was just so exciting because Dan was back, and it was sad that Troy was leaving, but that almost made me more invested because I really ate up those 5 last episodes. That
those
Oh my
first
gosh, yeah.
5 you were going to watch live. You were going to watch on repeat. Hey, Dan's coming back. The show is saved.
everybody's-
Donald's leaving. Oh my
oh
god!
God, what's gonna
Yeah.
happen?
Yeah.
There's no worse combination of things you could have said. It's like, oh, you're going to give me everything I want, and then you're going to take half of it away. I mean, it was really brutal.
The show
'Cause
did a great job of making it work, though. I think.
Yeah.
it's a
they
great
did.
finish, but go back and watch the first 4 seasons. How many times does Troy say, "We can never stop being friends"? You were out there and you weren't looking for me, and
Yeah.
the next thing you know, he's gone.
Bye.
Ooh, that was hard.
Yeah.
If anything, I thought in season 5 they didn't do enough with Troy in like the first 4 episodes, or the first 3 episodes, and then 4 and 5 they really sent him off well. But it kind of felt like they were just giving him a couple of background jokes here and there for those first couple
They made
episodes.
and Dan talked about that in the last. He talked about, I think that in the last year they really had a choice. They either could just
Make it
do
all
that,
Troy.
if you make it all Troy, then the rest of the season's going to suck because Troy's not going to be there, and there's no way you can get around that problem. And so they decided let's have these 2 really well focused episodes, and otherwise let's do a normal thing.
And I guess it allowed them to kind of build the bones of Community without Troy before he had even left in those first couple episodes.
Kind of cement some of the relationships that he was a part of, independent of him, I think.
Bring back Duncan, kind of get Hickey worked in.
Man, Hickey is great. There's so many good things about season 5. I think I love Pritchett and Keith David, but there are almost things I prefer about like the new kids they brought in for season 5. I thought really highly of Professor Hickey. I there's so many bits. Jonathan Banks just deadpan. I fought for this country. Stuff like that is just so funny.
Yeah, he just doesn't get enough to do to establish him better. I mean, that was and the same problem for Keith David was that you just don't have enough to make it all work well. And what they were looking for is what they ended up doing with Pritchett, which is somebody who is grounded, like not just grounded. They're the ground wire in any combination of things, and so they're completely normal people dealing with these deeply not normal group of people.
Yeah.
I mean, and that made it funnier, and it improved the perspective of it. I love Pritchett's character, Frankie. I thought that was the perfect one, and what little they got right with Elroy was really good.
Oh, absolutely. You pointed that out well. I love that Pritchett is the person who Greendale is so far up its own ass that you almost forget how weird all the goings on are. And then Pritchett is Frankie is a normal person, in air quotes, her Darsan said it when we talked to him really well, that her thing is that she so desperately wants to have a thing and be weird and quirky like everyone else, but she just kind of isn't, other than like playing the steel drums and stuff. But I don't know. I think they did a really good job, and it was nice to have someone to call the dean stupid in a way that Jeff couldn't really do anymore.
God, that was so funny. Yeah. They needed somebody to come in and say, this is reality. And in a way that worked. I mean, they were trying to do it with Hickey, and that's part of what you see in the episode where he handcuffs Abed.
I think that's a great episode.
Well, yeah, where they're making this point about reality, and these people are dangerous combinations, particularly for these people. It's going to go badly for them. And so introducing and having Pritchett's character basically say, this is reality, and it doesn't have to be painful. It just has to be a little bit more normal.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened with a good bit of what Elroy did. Even though Elroy's ridiculous and funny in a completely different way, but they, if you start the show over with Elroy, I think it works.
Oh, sure.
If you start the show with Hickey, you're going to have some episodes you're going to have problems with, but you still get the guy who's willing to be really harsh and blunt. He's right there. So, I think those, look, season 5 is basically saying, well, when I spent my year off, I spent a lot of time watching Breaking Bad. I think that was a really big part of it.
That would make sense why it's so much just literally darker, not darker in tone, just darker in image, season 5. So the show gets canceled after season 5. Were you doing the rallying cry? Were you messaging Netflix and Hulu?
I was doing all those things. I remember watching the season finale of 5 and going, Dan, why did you have to put the thumb in the eye of NBC with this finale? You're making fun of the way they make television.
It was pretty great, though. I mean, what else is Dan Harmon going to do? He's not going to say, please, sir, can I have some more? He's going to say, no, f- you guys. I'm better than all of you, and you don't deserve my show.
Yeah, you brought me back, and so this is what I'm going to do. In the finale, I'm going to say, we're coming back for a 6th season. I'm going to look at the camera and have our favorite character do that. And on top of that, our tag will make fun of all the shows you put on there, and then tell you what happens. If it gets picked up, if anybody watches, and then so you have that crazy mind jacker thing, and you you have the mummy detective.
Oh my god,
joke.
That's such a good end tag. And so many NBC
ridiculous
shows after Community was canceled were like that.
Oh my gosh,
but that happens all the time. He's making fun of the joke, but he's making fun directly of what NBC was doing. NBC's current lineup, did you see it? It came out like a month ago.
It's all The Voice
Not
and
one
Chicago
comedy.
shows and no comedies. Yep.
Not
really
one comedy in all their hours
That's
of prime
crazy.
time.
The only
And they
show
just
that we
fired-
watch
they
on
just
NBC,
got rid of Zoe.
we watch This Is Us, and it's
I
kind
don't
of
know.
it's kind of a guilty pleasure. But
Ugh, no, thank you.
that's the only thing I watch on NBC, and anything that comes on after This Is Us is just some terribly written medical drama that I see a couple seconds of. And NBC used to be
You
the
can watch
place
House.
for comedy.
Yeah, you can watch House, and it's going to be funnier, smarter, and a
Scrubs?
better version of whatever you just watched. As far as you're looking for medical drama, go back and
Yeah,
watch
House is a lot better.
House is way better.
Like I remember Wednesday and Thursday nights, like NBC just being like like you didn't flip. Like some nights you'd switch. Okay, let me watch this show on Fox and this one on. But that was like you stayed on NBC 'cause,
Since
you know,
I
30
was a
Rock
teenager.
or all those, yeah.
Sure, because that Must See TV goes back to, was it 80s or was it 90s?
It's the 80s. Because the 80s has the Cosby Show, and it has Cheers.
Cheers.
It has Night Court. I watched every episode of
Ooh,
Night Court.
Nice.
Loved Harry Anderson. Loved Marky Post. John Larroquette. Mole. Last character, his name was Mole. Yeah, there's a bunch of great. I just named 4 people off a show I haven't seen in 30 years. Yeah, I mean it's.
Maybe it's time to watch Night Court again.
No, I can't do it again. I know it. I know all the beats to it now. I still remember lines from it, sadly. To some.
Says the man who has watched Community how many times?
I don't count anymore. I think
Like,
I've
no, I
seen-
just watched it a couple too many
I think
times.
I've
I can't
seen
watch
season
Night Court
4, which is my least watched thing. I think I've seen season 4 6 times through in total.
Okay, that's almost.
That's not
It's
I've
almost a
watched
reasonable
the-
number.
I've watched seasons 1 through 3 over so many times. I have no clue. I reset Netflix just so it'll leave me alone. I watched. I'll tell you how bad. When I watched the season 6 finale, I watched that over and over for the entire month of June.
Wow.
Wow.
Steven has, you know this. Steven's never seen the
Never
finale
seen
of
it.
Community. I'm so excited to see
Save
what you
it.
think
Save
of
it for the
I
show
know,
where
I'm
it makes
excited to get
sense.
to
We
it.
have to at this point. It's such a great finale, and it's such a community finale. To touch on before we wrap this up about when season 6 was on, did you go into that season the whole time thinking this is probably going to be the last season, or was
yeah.
it so? But I mean, you think Yahoo Screen is literally born to save Community. There's no way they'd be stupid enough to spend all this money on one season of one show with no future plan afterwards, and then they just did literally
Well,
that.
the argument was that if they did well enough, they might be able to do some more. And the problem was, yeah, I'm glad y'all are too young to experience Yahoo Screen. to
Oh, I
that
did
degree.
Yahoo Screen.
You did?
We were there,
Okay.
yeah.
What a horrible way to present things you want people to watch.
You right?
The commercials are out of sync. It was almost all Honda from the
Same
start.
commercials
So
every time.
I cannot hear that 2-note chime of Honda. Doom doom. I can't hear that without thinking of Community at this point. Every time I hear it, I'm like, oh,
That's so
I'm
funny.
not
yeah,
thinking
you
about
watched
an accord.
the finale over and over again for a month, I'm sure,
yeah.
on Yahoo Screen.
Oh god, yeah. And then sometimes the commercials wouldn't run, and it would not.
Start the next section of the episode
It would
and then
start in the
interrupt
wrong
it.
section. Yeah, so like 5 seconds before the commercials start to run, the commercial runs, and it comes back and shows you 5 seconds, and then goes donk donk, and then you went right back to a black screen and back to the episode running. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And then they basically threw Community under the bus. We knew their contracts were up. We knew that kind of stuff was over. We knew how close we got at the end of 5. If you were obsessed with Community on Twitter, you knew the contract situation.
That it
You
would
knew
have to be so successful for them
Yeah.
to draw up more contracts.
yeah,
And that some people were probably ready to move on.
contracts that would have to pay these people at the level they were now. I mean, Gillian had already signed a deal to be with on Love.
Mm-hmm.
And Love was made by the people that made 40-Year-Old Virgin and
Yeah.
It's a good show. We
Super
like that
Bad
show
for
a
crying
lot.
out loud.
I really like
I
that
mean,
show.
I mean, holy crap! That's a different level than a
Yeah.
a TV show wasn't doing well on NBC. That's a guy who makes multi-million-dollar, hundreds of million-dollar
Absolutely.
movies.
Mm-hmm.
Judge Apatow.
Apatow.
Yeah, so this is a ridiculous level of opportunity for all of them, and you're not going to get John Oliver back for anything.
Yeah.
For crying out loud, Jim Rash has an Oscar, so
Yeah.
the chances of can you come back and wear dresses for us on a regular basis? This is not going to happen.
And they also probably wouldn't have just contracted them for one more year. They probably would
Exactly.
have done 2 or 3 or something. And I'm sure at that point, Gillian's got other stuff. Allison's got
Everybody's
other stuff.
got Allison was just starting to take off
Allison's, yeah.
properly, and look, Allison's the ridiculous find from the show. I mean, just incredible. Gillian is too. Yvette, it's a stat cast. You
Stellar
can't
cast.
if you've watched any professional sport, they can't keep 11 all-stars or whatever,
No.
9 on the field all the time. They just can't afford to do that. They have to have their own opportunities to shine for themselves, and thankfully most of them have done that. I mean, Ken's
Ken's huge.
One
I
of
mean,
the most
Ken's
famous people
on
in the
television
world.
every night of the week, I think, at this point, and that's great.
Yeah.
Everyone in the world knows who Ken Jeong is.
And I mean,
Maybe
and
not
Glow
everyone in the
was
world, but
was so big. I only saw the first season of it, but I thought
what?
Glow was
Glow, which was
Al
Yeah.
Sweet.
unjustly treated as well.
Yeah, I thought that show was really good. I enjoyed it.
Season 1 was good. Season 3 was better.
Wow, really?
I only watched the first season.
Season 1's good. Season 2 feels like a bit of a lull, but they're kind of resetting the story to some degree. Season 3 was great, and part of it was great because the cast basically said we need more input in what's happening, and they did, and they participated in the stories more. I think Allison directs the first episode in season 3.
That's
season
awesome.
3 is the best of the 3.
Was that the last one? They were
Yeah.
renewed for 4 and then canceled
And they
afterwards.
got canceled because of COVID. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Well, okay, so to wrap this up, I want to say, so we've been at such a high point for Community, and I think how many podcasts there are shows how big of an explosion the show had that all of a sudden we were all like, wow, people are going to want this content of Community. People are diving so deep into it. What do you think's next? What do you think's next for the fandom? Do you think it's going to die down? Do you think we're just holding out for the movie? Where do you think we are? What's the state of things?
I don't know. There's this really nice stasis that we're in, and look, I'm one who wants the movie. I'm 100% on with the movie. I don't want another season. I want a movie.
Yeah.
I don't want anything else of the movie because it's been the line we've used. So
Sure.
let's get it finished.
That's what we're going to get if we get it.
If we get it, that's the most likely thing we get. But man, this fandom is so fun. I don't know what the future is. I could not have predicted to you last year that this year there would be so many 17-year-olds who really love
Yeah.
Danny Pudi.
I mean, can you blame them?
My brother and sister,
He's
they're
fabulous. I agree
like,
with them.
13 and 16, and they love Abed. They love the show, and they had never watched it before last year.
Yeah, I mean it's a credit to the quality of the show, and it's a credit to the quality of the acting. And I don't know. I mean, at some point, I'm sure this is going to die down. Our growth as far as Twitter follows and stuff is not what it was last year. But last year, it just got on Netflix, and we got to talk to Chris McKenna and Joe
Table
McHale
read.
for 30 minutes on a live thing, and they had the table read, and Sony contacted us to help us promote that, and we we reached out to the podcasters to help do that. I mean, we just had this great last year. And so is it going to be less than last year? You betcha.
Oh, yeah,
last year
of
was
course.
insane. Where's it going to be in 5 years? I still think they're going to be 17-year-old kids who just don't feel like they fit in. They're going to find community, and they're going to tweet something about loving it. And I hope the ad man reaches out and finds them.
Yeah.
Something that I love about Community is that I was 17 or a few years younger when I fell in love with it, and I fell in love with the character and the characters in the world. But it taught me so many things about pop culture that I was too young to know. It turned me on to so many movies, actors, musicians, just things that they would reference, and I'd have to look it up. And I'm grateful for that. And it's cool now to see the next generation is doing the same thing, and not only are they finding community, they're going down the whole rabbit hole of learning about My Dinner with Andre and whatever else community throws at you.
I would have never watched that movie without that show, without that one episode.
Same, and I probably could have done without seeing the movie. It certainly is a movie. It certainly is a movie that is well made and well acted.
It's a typical movie to some degree of the art house stuff from the 70s, where there was a bunch. Look, you want to know the big reason why everybody's like, "Hey, let's do something like Star Wars," because Star Wars made money when the rest of them couldn't. They were doing a lot of dramas. They were doing a lot of things that they wanted to make, and they weren't making stuff that was people wanted to see necessarily. So this part of what happens in the 70s with like movies like Star Wars. If Star Wars made a movie, it's like, hey, let's take a Western and put it in space, and let's have lasers, swords, and that's it. I mean, they
I would have
put together
watched
the
that
way it
version
worked.
of My Dinner with Andre. That would have been
Absolutely.
great.
That would have been a much better version.
Lasers would have really helped.
It would have picked up the pace of eating the squab. Yeah. I mean, it's
the
it's
waiter
just
was
a
on
part of a
respirator,
genre
I
of
think it would
movies
have been
that
a lot more
there's
entertaining every time he came to check on the food.
Yeah, there's some great things out there. I mean,
Yeah.
they're ridiculous in hindsight. I mean, like, don't go run out. Don't go watch My Dinner with Andre. Watch My Dinner with Abed. Watch contemporary American film.
Watch it 3 times in a row, adding up
And
to the
you
length
have
of
been
My Dinner with
happier.
Andre.
And you have a better emotional connection to the characters on that screen from Community than you would from.
Yeah.
I can't even remember their names.
My Dinner with Andre? Wally, because it's
other
Wallace
than
Shawn.
Andre, yeah, it's Wally. It's Wally, but I don't remember his character's name.
His name's Wally.
Oh, his name's Wally.
His
too?
character's
Oh,
name is Wally. Yeah.
Christ, no, yeah, don't insult me. Don't do that.
Well, then, what about you outside of Community? What are things? Is there anything that you're really turned on to right now? Are there any shows, movies, music that you've been diving into?
The Boys
heard
on
that's
okay.
Amazon. That's been a really good series. The Invincible series that just dropped.
I
The
really would
cartoon
like to watch
series
that.
with Gillian's voicing Adam.
I
Eve.
didn't know she was in that.
Well, go Google the show and look up the voice cast. There's 100 people,
It's
and they're all some
everybody
of
you
the
ever
most
wanted to
famous
see.
people in the
Yeah.
world. Yeah.
A lot of the now I'm obviously in the anime. A lot of the anime community is liking that show quite a bit because it's a little
Yeah.
more.
And it's
edgy.
just
Adult.
following the comics
Yeah.
for the most part from 15 years ago, but it's not what people have seen. But it was well done. The Boys is well done. I'm trying to think of something else. Shadow and Bone was interesting.
That was kind of cool.
Haven't heard of that one.
It's on Netflix. It popped up. I watched it through. The Witcher's coming back. I enjoyed The Witcher a great deal.
Okay.
So it's
So
I
many
like
good
stuff I
things
don't
to
know
watch
anything
out
about.
there.
There's always something. I enjoyed the first couple of years of Bosch, but I kind of like that style anyway, so that kind of worked out. But no, there's no great comedy stuff that I've seen yet that I've just really gravitated to. And that's what there's nothing like what Dan does. So I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
Rick and Morty coming back.
Oh, yeah. That's tomorrow. Well, as of recording, I believe that's tomorrow. Or
Yeah.
tonight.
Oh wow.
Somewhere around, yeah.
By the time this comes out, it'll have been out. I look
I
forward
think
to that too.
so it'll be coming out, and I'll be watching that again. I mean, that's
The iCarly reboot's coming up. We're all really excited about that one.
I have no intention of watching it for me.
I'm sure.
But one of the writers of Community works on that show, and so if I
On
get
the
a
new
chance,
iCarly?
I'll watch it on the new iCarly. Yeah, and he
Who?
worked on the Zach. His name's Zach. Why can't you remember the?
Is it Paez? Paez?
Yeah, why am I drawing a blank?
That's the Zach name that I remember, I think,
Yeah.
from season 1 of
What am I-
Community.
I talk to him every couple of months, but I've just drawn a blank. But yeah, he just worked on the. He's working on Carly next, and he's working on. Wow, he just worked on the other reboot of a show from the '90s with the female actress. That's the main. It's on same network. I'm drawing a blank on this. It was a silly
What
show.
Nickelodeon
Punky
reboot
Brewster. He just
Oh.
he was a writer and was on Punky Brewster.
Yeah, I think that was Peacock.
Yeah,
Or was that
Punky
Paramount
Brewster.
Plus?
I don't
It's
know. Who
really hard to keep up.
No, there's
I
so many that starts with P now, and then there's just like 8 different, 9
Paramount,
different
Peacock.
streams. AP Bio, I watch AP Bio. I enjoy
AP
that.
Bio is really great. That's one of the, I would say, better. I guess it's not even a network comedy anymore, but
Not anymore, no.
One of the better network comedies that kind of picks up the torch that Community held for so long a little bit. But nowadays, comedy is so much more like shows built around a personality.
Yeah.
Like a comedian or comedic presence that has their own show, and it's like their voice. And a lot of those are
And
good.
it's
But
but it's a cookie cutter. And it's not Zach. It was Clay Lapari. He's on both of them. He wrote Recycled Cinema,
okay.
and he was a story editor before that. No, it's look, just consume the stuff the people are now making, and you'll be really happy. You get to watch Spider-Man. You get to watch half the MCU. You get to watch Loki. The showrunner for Loki was on Community, and then he was on Rick and Morty, and now he's running the show for Loki.
Oh, that's
so
Which
awesome.
I've heard really good things about. I think people
I've heard
really,
good stuff about it too. So yeah, there's this ridiculously fabulously talented group
They're
of
filming
people
season 3 of Atlanta right now.
are making stuff. And yeah, and when Atlanta comes back, I'll watch Atlanta. I love Atlanta. I thought Atlanta's just
It's so good.
there's nothing Donald can't do, and we just have to adjust.
we all just have to be patient and wait for him to do each thing
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah,
he's got so
he's-
much going on. It's like make another album,
He's
star
got Mr.
in
and Mrs.
movies.
Smith coming out.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
Phoebe
I'm
Waller
excited
Bridge,
about that.
that'll be incredible.
Oh yeah, that's gonna come out in 2023. I am all in on those two doing stuff
Yeah,
together.
never knew that I would want anything to do with Mr. and Mrs. Smith as a TV show, but
Yeah,
Donald Glover
but
and
all
Phoebe
of a sudden I
Waller-Bridge,
really do.
I'm there.
Yeah.
I will. Yes, I will eat that up. That is going to be so much fun.
Well, I think we've done this, and I want to end it just by, I don't know, I feel like we need to really thank you, because you've done so much for us, so much for the community, and I hope that in all of the time you spend building people up, that you take some time to build yourself up too, because you mean a lot to us, and I know you mean a lot to all the other podcasters, and I'm sure hundreds and thousands of people in the community fandom. So thanks for being around, and thanks for doing everything you do.
Yeah, Dad, thanks so much for,
Alimony has been coming in
You'll
lately.
hear. All right. Two things. First, I am so grateful for what you do. There is no way to keep this love of the show going without people making content like you do. And I really enjoy the way you talk to each other. And don't let this go to your head, and please deal with it appropriately. But I love you for it. I do. I really do. This is my favorite thing that I do outside of my own personal family. This is the most interesting thing. This is what I spend my free time on. I love you guys for what you do for it. Love all the podcasters, what they do for it. I love all the fans that make artwork. I love how people love the show, and I love how it helps people. There's no disliking that part. There's plenty of bad stuff out there. There's plenty of garbage out there. There's plenty of things. Look, The Boys is a fun show to watch, but that is a horrifying show. Community ultimately at the end says, yeah, these people are bad, but they ultimately at the end figure out how to care about each other. What a great reoccurring message.
Yeah.
So I'm all in on that, and I appreciate what you do.
And I think there's so many examples within the fandom of not just the messages the show sends out and the people who gravitate towards that, but the things that then those people do for each other. That none of us are perfect people, and we all have this thing that we all love. And whether you're creating content, something like a podcast, or drawing a picture of the Dean every day, all of these things are so essential to positive mental health for me, to have something like this to work towards, and I think for everyone. So it's such a cool thing to be a part of, and
it's great you share your life this way, and I appreciate it.
All right, well, I think we've done it, Dad. Are you proud of us? Steven, you got that? I love you. We'll be able to use that.
you're
for
gonna-
No, I was going to
Alright.
say, you clip
you
that
got
and
that
just
on the
like,
mixer, okay?
And I knew what I was getting into.
prepare to be my new alarm every morning. So thanks.
I have no answer for this. I really do think this is the silliest thing, and I'm glad you enjoy it. And when I play clips to my kid, the first thing is horror, but the second part is he's laughing really hard, and that's have at it.
I always think we're tapped out of things to say about it, but not yet, I guess.
The well runs violently deep of things that we have to say.
We're going to be out of stuff to say about Community really soon, but the dad stuff will hold strong.
You have so many things you've got to get through here. Yeah. No, I don't gatekeep any of this fandom, including. Would this be my preference that two of the podcasters call me Dad every week? No, I would not have put that on my list. But I don't gatekeep anybody. So,
Especially not your own kids. What a guy.
William? No, I don't gatekeep William.
Well,
old brother Willie, we'll talk to you soon. Come on the show. Let's talk about how much we love our dad.
Everyone, I hope that you have a beautiful Father's Day spent with the men that are closest to you in your life. We've got to head out now and head out to a nice, sensual picnic on the beach together. Just it'll be it'll be me. The picture will be me and Steven, but there's a third set of footprints that's been walking, and that's Matt right here. At Communiess on Twitter.
Oh.
Thanks for coming and doing this. It's always fun to chat with you. And happy Father's Day. I'm sorry we didn't get you anything.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Thanks, guys.
What to do? He said that's okay, and he walked away, but his smile never dimmed. Said, I'm gonna be like him. Yeah, you know I'm gonna be like him. And the cats
I love
in the
you.
cradle and a silver
I love you. Love you.
man on the moon. When you're coming home, Dad, I don't know